My dear lionesses, my dear community, welcome to Lioness Rising podcast, your podcast for sacred business development and soul wealth ascension. As usual, we speak about all the spiritual things that are happening around us. And of course, I introduce to you the most beautiful, successful, fierce entrepreneurs which I met over my period. And today I have dear Caroline, who is a clinical psychologist and astrologist. And we met in one of my programs. And yeah, basically, since then we are in touch, and also like privately, because we are two Scorpio sisters being happy together. Diving deep into the subconscious. And yeah, she prepared some juicy informations about the upcoming eclipse season, which is gonna happen basically tomorrow. So thank you for being here, Caroline.
Yeah, thank you for having me. So maybe I should introduce myself a little bit. I'm an astrologer. I'm in my master's degree of clinical psychology, which ends in September. And then I'm a clinical psychologist. And therefore, I'm connecting the dots between astrology and psychology. And yes, I love to get to the heart of human psyche, of course, with my Scorpio sun. I'm a Scorpio sun, Libra moon, and Virgo rising. And so I like to go deep beyond the surface. I dive deep to bring everything to the surface, like you, Lexi. And my Virgo ascendant takes the pieces, so to say, and analyzes it and cuts it in digestible pieces, so to speak, and clears everything up. And my Libra moon is wishing for one-on-one interaction and harmony. And so maybe one can say it calms down my sometimes very intense Scorpio sun. So that's its duty, I would say. Yeah, and we will talk about the eclipses because eclipse season is coming up. We have two eclipses coming up. New moon solar eclipse on the 20th of April and a full moon eclipse on the 5th of May. So we are recording this one day before this cosmic event occurs. And there is definitely a heightened energy that comes with it. And maybe I start with what is an eclipse. Yeah, maybe let's start there. So there are multiple eclipses, 4 to 5 a year. Some of them solar, some of them lunar. And the solar eclipse, which is coming up first, happens when the moon moves in front of the sun and hides its light. So from the view of the Earth, it's like the moon is moving in front of the sun. And the moon in astrology is our unconscious, and the sun describes that which is conscious. So it's kind of as if consciousness is hidden behind the moon. So that's why everyone is talking about this new moon as not so good for manifesting things or intention setting. Normally, when we have a new moon, we are setting intentions, we are manifesting all the things, but that's not the time because, yeah, it's not the time for active manifestation. It's more so a time of devotion to let things reveal themselves, to observe what's going on around us and to let go of the resistance in ourselves. Yeah. Even in the tiniest details in our daily life. So, for example, when we bump into a door or when we, I don't know, spill our tea or whatever. Oh, it's not my day. What a terrible day it is. And often we keep that energy alive for hours and hours instead of letting it go moments after it happens. And that's the mistake also in this time now. We decide to keep it alive. And I always say that that it's all about decision. It's all your decision, what you keep up in your head, and what you keep alive in your system. So this season in particular is asking from us to let go of our negative patterns. So I think my advice, maybe observe it and decide to go another way. That's the first advice. And also don't get so triggered by things, because from people, from situations, it can be a time where we react on everything that's happening around us. And this is not so much about reaction. We should hold on for a second and reflect on how this situation that occurs wants to bring some information or some lesson for you with it. Yeah, and it's a time to integrate really this lesson. And just being aware of that can bring huge upgrades into our lives. So I think the eclipse season is, I talked about it in my stories on Instagram, because I watched some clips and I heard some podcasts about it, and there are always people who are like spreading so much fear around this topic. Eclipse season is like, oh, you should hide yourself, you should like be aware, and you should protect yourself, and it's always so fear driven. And I think that is not what the modern astrology is teaching us. Astrology is always a tool for seeing things and like upgrading with its help, but it's not so to like go into fear and into like, oh no, what's going to happen, I don't know. Okay, so I don't think that ever in the community, in the world, that creating fear is giving us as a collective any upgrade or brings us to our goals.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I'm never a big fan of seeding fear, whatever it is, whether it is eclipse or a retrograde or whatever. I don't know, like lower vibrating forces, because originally both energies, light and dark, originate from the same source. So it's like basically a dance of illusions, what we are seeing around us. And as you say, like maybe it's not the active time during the eclipse to manifest, but on the other hand, it's constant manifestation. Our life, our breaths is, we are constantly in manifesting mode. And for example, I don't, like, this is just how I do it, I don't sit down and write it down and make my goals as manifesting. It's like more and a very intuitive thing, like what I feel. Well, plus my motivation is innocence, so for me it's maybe working a little bit different than for someone with a different motivation or a different design. But it's more like, okay, I make a wish, or I feel like, oh, that would be nice to have it. But I'm not requesting constantly from the universe what's gonna appear. And maybe sometimes even years later, after I totally forgot about this manifestation, it appears, and they're like, oh yeah, there was something. I thought it one day and now it's here. So that's cool. So the way we use the tools of astrology or human design, or even like the energy spirituality, is more as an empowerment tool, because we all have our free wills. And I know that you are totally on the same page with me here. The free will is very important, and there's no such things as dogmas which we blindly follow. So please tune into your body. If maybe it feels liberating for you to know that it's not a time of darkness, and you should not hide yourself, but maybe even embrace the time of the eclipse, because just like these days when it's moving towards eclipse, I'm feeling extremely drained. Like I am moving through such powerful updates, upgrades, And I know this is the eclipse. So, and some things that resonated with me 2 weeks ago for years do no longer resonate with me now. Like, I know which things I need to put to death, and which things I basically outgrew already. And this is in things in my business, things in my life. And it's really like the eclipse brings actually such a, if you don't resist with your ego against this process, you will experience a piece of serenity, a state of serenity and peace. Then suddenly these changes with rebirth process doesn't bother you so much. This is just my experience. But now
Yeah.
I'm super keen on hearing from you about the eclipse.
Yeah, it's about change. Like you said, it's about change. It helps us to realign with our true soul purpose because it changes things. So we get all these lessons, even karmic lessons, to reconsider the way we went until now. And the season shows us, hey, this is the way. Just change the direction slightly or not so slightly. And we just sit there and observe what's happening, and we devote to that which is happening. And when we do that, and it's not so much about doing, but more so about being, then we are already on the right course. Okay, so just trust into that you are on the right course, and that you can lean back, and then that you can observe, and that you see the changes coming. So don't get too much into your schedule if you can. I mean, astrology should never be used as a limiting source as we already mentioned. It should be used as, okay, there is something going on in the cosmos, and as above, so below, and we work with that energy, no less, no more. Sometimes there is a lot going on. I mean, I'm in the middle of my master thesis. I have a course coming up where you can learn astrology and how to use it with your own clients. So of course I'm working. I'm not standing still, but I will definitely be aware of the energies, and I'm making sure that I always fill up my own cup first. And that's how it works. So, and also we receive a lot. We receive energies from other people, and that can feel overwhelming sometimes. I mean, you feel that all the time because I think you have all these open centers in human design.
I'm a reflector.
Yeah, you are reflector, so you can feel these energies a lot. And I'm a manifesting generator, so I'm a little bit more protected by design, so to speak. But in the eclipse season, sometimes it feels like we all are maybe projectors or reflectors, and so it can bring stuff for us up. Yeah, but on the other hand, this heightened intuition can guide us. It can show us the way when we really listen to the things that happens to us, to the signs that the universe sends us. So I think that is a very positive side of the eclipse season. And we always in the eclipse season, we should ask ourselves if there's anything that we clinch to in the past, or is there anything that we hold on to because we think it secures us, it brings us safety. And maybe I should also mention that the eclipses are always in connection to the lunar nodes. And
that's why I feel it's so strong. Because in human design, we have the 5 aura types. So human design is the mechanic of the aura. So basically for me, it's like the mechanic, how I perceive the world and the world perceives me, like in my aura. And reflector is the only design which is ruled by the moon. All the hours are ruled by the sun. So that's when I feel when it's like new moon, low on energy, full moon, higher energy, and really feel also in which places the moon is currently. So, for example, when the moon is placed in Capricorn, I'm the most productive. So when the moon is in Virgo, I'm getting like my sense of harmony and balance, and I'm starting to organize everything and make a little decoration in my house. And it's super random. I don't watch the lunar calendar. It just happens. And then like I see, oh, the moon was in Virgo, for example. So
Yeah.
yeah, the eclipse is draining me a little bit.
Yeah, I can feel that. And also, I mean, I'm not so connected to the moon like you. I mean, I didn't know this connection in human design. It's very interesting. But you can actively get involved with the lunar phases, and you can actively choose to align yourself with the lunar phases, and it changes a lot. So I can always recommend to like watch where the moon is in the sky at the moment and align yourself with that. But
Yeah.
the lunar nodes, why is the eclipse connected to the lunar nodes, is that the lunar nodes are not like planets or something. I hear that sometimes from people, not astrologers, but people, like, they don't really get what the lunar nodes are. They are not planets, they are mathematical points, they are calculated points. And it's the point where the orbit of the sun meets the orbit of the moon. So if the sun moves near the eclipse happening, because the earth is like in between of them, and the sun cannot shine its light on the moon. So the moon is like eclipsed. So because they are very, very straight on the same line. And that's why the eclipse happens. And the nodes are shifting now in July from Scorpio Taurus to Libra Aries in July. And so the eclipse is the finale. Yeah, it's the finale of the Scorpio Taurus axis, and we're reflecting on what that has shifted for us as a collective, and also on a very personal level. And themes of the North Node in Taurus or still are until July, are like power, financial power, material power, like personal power, embracing material desire, also finances, personal values. It's all about personal values, and we were asked as a collective, but also personal, what are my values, and am I like going into action with these values, or am I like hiding and not going with these values that I set for myself? So it's in the end now of this Taurus Scorpio axis, it's very, very important that we also reflect again on what are my values, and really setting them straight. And I mean, they can change. It's not like they are setting for, I don't know, a lifetime, but in this moment now, what are your values and how can you act on them, I would say. So this is maybe a very, very good point to reflect on. And also everything about simplicity, keeping things simple. Like the Scorpio South Node is always trying to complicate things. And it's not about complication and like getting this done and learning this and learning that. And I don't know, getting our head full of information and not really connecting the dots, and like being like, oh, I don't know how to explain it, when you can't explain what you're doing, or when you have to like keep a lot of time, or take a lot of time to explain what you're doing, then you are not really getting it. You are not really clear on what you teach, or on what you are doing. And also with astrology, I hear a lot of people talking about how complicated it is, and how they are not learning it because it sounds so complicated, and so on and so on. And I think simplicity is definitely a key point. It can be so simple. Astrology is not so complicated, it's simple. And when we complicate things, everything gets out of order, everything gets unclear, and we cannot integrate the lessons. because we don't really got them. So I think that is a huge point with these axes, that we really integrate the lesson of simplicity, I would say. And with the South Node in Scorpio, we should let go. I mean, always when we are talking about the South Node, it's about letting go. Because, I mean, Stephen Forrest once said that the South Node, like it's like from an alcoholic, and the South Node is like the whiskey bottle, and the North Node is the meeting of anonymous alcoholics. So the North Node is always a little bit, it can feel hard, it can feel complicated, it can feel like, oh, I don't know if I can really get there. And the South Node can feel like very comfortable. And with the South Node in Scorpio, it's about manipulation. So where are you manipulating things, people? Where are you keeping up unhealthy power dynamics, unhealthy desires for power, or power struggles with your partner, with your friends? I don't know. Your ego, always trying to feed your ego, and not really coming into like the being. Okay, Taurus is like very earthy. It's like, okay, we get into our body and we receive the things that are coming to us, and we don't try to manipulate things to get this to make it comfortable for our own ego.
Oh, I resonated deeply with simplicity. Thank you so much for your impulses, for your wisdom. It's actually your wisdom. It's not even impulses anymore. Because when we, just like how I recognized it when we started to come closer to the eclipse, so much clarity came through, and simplicity, like the urge to make basically my business structure the simplest as possible, to no longer confuse my clients, to no longer confuse my audience, or just like to no longer confuse myself. I was not confused, but like energetically, maybe, I don't know. So it can maybe appear for you during this time that you want to simplify some structures in your career, in your business, in your life, that you want to make your friendships simpler, that you want to make your, I don't know, like your apartment simpler, your situation simpler, for example, I also really feel the urge to remove some furniture and to get something new. So it's like, okay, it's not simple enough. I want my desk all empty. Like, what can I get rid of? So maybe it's how you can feel it. You can give us a like. Do you resonate with it, or is it just like how I perceive it?
Of course, and also themes like overreacting or obsessive tendencies. I mean, that is so Scorpio-like that, and I definitely can feel that, to get into an obsession with, I don't know, like stalking people, or like what are they doing, and like, well, that's also very Scorpio sun, to always want to get to the heart of things and go very deep, and that's a very positive thing, but it can end in some obsessive tendencies. So really
a little bit
letting
destructive. Sounds a little bit destructive.
yeah, definitely. So it's the finale of that, we can say, and we should definitely now, if not before, let it go. As I said, I'm not a fan of like, oh my God, this is the last chance, you should now use it. And I also heard a podcast with an astrologer I deeply adore, like very, very yeah, she always says like, okay, this is now the last turning point, and I don't know, and I'm not a fan of this.
Last turning point of what? What's gonna happen?
Last turning point of letting go of the tendencies, or letting go of things that no longer serves you. And that's, I mean, she's right, but she's not right in this like very sense of now is the last time. I mean, or now is the last chance, because I mean, you always have another chance. You live for a long time, and it's not like you are like,
if you don't make it now, you're never gonna make it.
It's
so it's like how I
yeah,
understand, like if you
it's
don't
that.
manage it now, you will have another chance. It's like not like do it now or like never. So it's like it's actually sounds very there. This sounds very dogmatic to me. It's like okay,
and very threatening.
Yeah, if you don't make it now, try your best. It's totally fine. And it's very possible that this constellation just adjusts to some areas of your life, and you will be successfully getting rid of his tendencies. But in another aspect of your life, you might have something left, and you can use another eclipse, or just like I like personally. It's beautiful when we have this the constellations, the cosmic constellations for us to work with, and like these events, these cosmological events really affect our as above so below, what's happening in our world. But you as a person, you are totally empowered to keep on evolving, and despite the astrological events and manifesting and doing your work, no matter what happens up in the sky. And just like from some wisdom nuggets from the spiritual world, it's actually the higher we are like in our karma, like let's say if we are new to spiritual work and we didn't started this process, the cosmological events will affect us more or more intensively. We will perceive it more versus when we already started our healing journey, our self-development journey, and we already learned some lessons. This is when the stars will no longer affect us so extreme. Like for example, retrograde. I usually never feel very retrograde. It's like I see it outside in the world, but I don't feel it internally. Like, or my flight tickets are not getting canceled, or I don't know. If when Mercury is in retrograde, my life keeps on going normal, for example.
Yeah.
While at my friend's place or my family should go down.
Yeah, I know
Nothing
what
is
you mean.
working.
No, I mean I'm also not very feeling this energy so much, because I have Mercury retrograde in my chart, in my birth chart. So all the people who have it in their birth chart will not really feel it, or maybe even feel that it's a more positive time, and time where things add up. And I did a lot of launches in while Mercury retrograde, and they went perfectly fine, while all the astrologers were like, oh no, you shouldn't launch on Mercury retrograde. So I mean, yeah, all the things that astrologers say that limit us, we should always be very careful with, and letting it go through our own filter, and through our own view of the world. And when you feel negative, when you feel drawn down or something like that, you should always reflect that. You should always ask if that's the right viewpoint for you, or the right astrologer that you engage with. So I mean, this is a huge theme, but also for the lunar eclipse on the 5th of May that we talked about, because the solar eclipse that is coming up now tomorrow on the 20th of April is in the sign of Aries. And the nodes are shifting in July to Libra Aries, and we are coming from the south node Libra to the north node in Aries. And Aries is all about action taking. It's all about oneself. while Libra is more so about the others. It's more about the you, and how can I like change to get you comfortable. So we are letting this go. We are letting go of all the people-pleasing tendencies. We are letting go of I cannot say this, or I cannot speak my truth because someone gets hurt. Okay, we are letting go of all of this, and we are like really deep down going to the heart of what is my desire, what do I want to accomplish, and we just do it. Aries is just such a like very spontaneous sign, and it's always like deciding from the moment of the heat of the moment, one could say. Okay, it's like something changes, and Aries is like, okay, I change my direction and I go forward, and I not only go forward, I like run forward for for my goal. And when I see that it's not really clicking, or that it's not really getting me to my goal, I'm changing the direction and I'm going forward. I'm always going forward, and I know that. And it's about me, and it's about my life and my body and my choices that I made or make. And so that's very important. That's a very important theme that also comes up now with the new moon solar eclipse in Aries, which is the second new moon in Aries, which is very significant, because the last new moon we had was also in Aries. So it's the second new moon in Aries, which is very like not happening so often. And the degree point is 29 degrees, which is also significant because it's like the ending point of Aries. And when we look at the ending point of a sign, it's not about like it's less of the energy, it's more of the energy. So when we are born in the last degrees of Scorpio, or in the last degrees of Sagittarius, or whatever, it's not that we have something from the next sign in our personality. It's more so that the sign that we were born in the last degrees, it's like heightened. The energy is like more of that Scorpio sun, or more of that Sagittarius sun. And so we really reflect now on the Aries themes, and we really reflect now on how can I move forward? How can I take my action steps? And like I said, it's not about taking the action steps now. I mean, you can if you feel like, but the eclipse season is not so much about doing, but more so about reflecting and seeing, okay, where did I do things that were not in alignment with my true soul purpose, that were not in alignment with what I desire, and were more in alignment with people, what they desire for me, or what they desire for themselves. And so that is something that we definitely should reflect on this new moon solar eclipse that is coming up now.
Okay, so sounds like a lot of people will go through their topics with some parents or family members.
Yes, can definitely
Like,
be.
when you say like, oh, who do I please? The things that people desire from me, but maybe I don't. So yeah. I don't know. It's like when you started talking about the orbit of the moon, but actually it's not an actual planet. And for example, since then Lilith is in this space. Like, we open up our space for today, and Hecate, the goddess of the underworld, arrived here. And now I just constantly feel Lilith, because Lilith is also not an actual planet. It's like a point in the sky, basically. Yes. Do you have some impulses about Lilith for us?
Okay, Lilith, in this moment, let me check. It's in, I think it's in Leo. I should definitely check. Okay, let me think. Yeah, it's in Leo. That's a wild energy. It's a fixed energy, and it's a fire energy. And Leo is all about presentation and like self-expression. So I think that for a lot of us, this is a really, really big theme because we couldn't, like in our childhood, we couldn't really show ourselves the way we are, especially as women. And Lilith is about the wild woman archetype. And that is not something that in society is like, in general, in families, is like, oh yeah, okay, let your wild woman out, or be loud, be expressive. But it's more so, okay, you are a woman, you are a girl, you should play with things, you should smile, you should. Oh, I watched this documentary about a religious oh, what was it called? It was like obey yourself and smile and be nice and all this. Okay, I don't know what this documentary is. It's about a Christian sector. It's like what is it called?
A sect.
A
I think it's
sect.
the same.
Yeah.
I think it's the
Yeah.
same word in English.
I think it's something called with Obey, and it's on Netflix. And yeah, I mean it's not like this in our society in general, but one can see that maybe in your childhood you remember that your parents told you to be quiet or be not so expressive and all the things. And so with this Lilith in Leo, we are learning that it's okay to be as we are. And if people tell us don't be so loud, speak not so loud in public or something like that, it triggers a wound in us. It triggers a wound. It's like, I'm not allowed to express myself. And sometimes I have that with Tom, with my boyfriend, because he's a Cancer, very, very Cancerian. And so he's very, he's very clinging onto security and safety. And like Cancer is all about our inner world, our home. And so when we are in public and I'm like speaking very loud and expressing myself and I'm like this, sometimes he's like, psh, and that triggers so much in me because that
I
is something.
resonate so much because
Ah,
my husband does the same sometimes, and I'm there like,
let me
I,
just speak.
I'm just like, you're shouting, don't shout, and I'm like, I'm not shouting.
You're
And when he
shouting.
says this makes me want to shout, like for
Yeah,
real, you know.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and sometimes I am shouting then and like going into a rebellious state, and sometimes I'm just shutting down and like, okay, then I won't talk. Yeah, but I think that is a big, big theme with Lilith in Leo, that we just go onto that stage and just scream and shout from the rooftops what we're here to like express and what we're here to say. And yeah, to let people, to let us be seen by people, to be seen, deeply seen. I think that is the biggest theme with that Lilith now.
It really feels like it's gonna boil up a lot of topics during this eclipse season, like what you described about the solar and the lunar eclipse coming up, and these Aries Scorpio energies, like
Mhm.
not being or not getting triggered, but our Lilith in Leo, it's like it seems like they both gonna dance a little bit. And for example, I am Leo rising, so Leo or Lilith in Leo really like sounds like super juicy for me right now. Like, oof.
Mhm.
It
Yeah,
feels like my Leo rising will have some fun with the Lilith and Leo, because usually my Lilith placement is in Capricorn. So it's like this overly independent woman.
Mhm.
So, and like over workaholic woman. I feel her like this. And yeah,
Yeah, it
definitely.
activates a lot for you now.
Yeah, I'm feeling, like, ooh, everyone with Leo signs right now will be triggered with a Lilith wild woman archetype. And obviously also men, in case men are listening to this. And yeah, what else? The moon energy. It's not, this is just like a disclaimer, before, because we were talking about this before. Everyone is ruled by the moon, obviously, especially women who are with their wombs, in tune with the moon. Our whole cycle as a woman is based on the moon. We bleed every 28 days. And even the old calendar was for the 13 moons, for the 13 moons, moon cycles of a woman as well as the moon. So it's like when we are going back into the origins, we will find so much evidence for how we used to be in tune with the dance of nature, with the moon. And I mean, moon is the ruler of the water. We see it every day. I live by the beach, so I see it every day how the moon affects the tides. And I always know, even without looking at the sky, because when it's like especially new moon or full moon, the tides are more extreme. So it's like extreme ebb and extreme high tide. So it's very interesting. If the moon can control the waters, we are made of water, so sure it controls us as well.
Yeah.
And for this, you don't need to be a reflector or whoever. Everyone will feel the power of the moon.
Yeah. And also in this eclipse season, we will, because the Aries new moon solar eclipse now is ruled by Mars, and Mars is in Cancer right now. So there definitely we can expect a heightened emotionality and heightened emotions coming up. Maybe also, that we like have deep in our soul, and that we maybe don't want to see. And sometimes when we like repress things, then something like an eclipse is like there to show us what's going on. And so it's like I said, it's not about going away. It's not about going into hustle mode and like numbing these emotions, but really reflecting on how is it impacting now me and my life, that I feel these emotions now. And then also letting go of it, because emotions are not like, normally it's not like we are 3 hours into one emotion, but it's like it's seconds or minutes that we have this emotion, and then we like let go of it and like let it go into the earth, let it flow into the earth, and then we can let go of it, and then we go on. And when it comes back, we won't repress it, but also we won't like get into that state of like falling into a deep hole and it's dark and we cannot see anything. It's more so, we should find balance in that. Yeah. And also
words of a Libra.
words of a Libra moon. And also Mercury retrograde. We didn't talk about it yet.
We forgot about that fucker. Okay.
Because the 21st of April, we have Mercury moving retrograde until the 15th of May. And Mercury is our planet of communication, of talking, of writing, listening to something. It's the mind planet, and it governs our knowledge and our learning skills. And it's also the planet of short journeys, of transport, and it governs trade, commerce, and all the things. And Mercury, when it moves retrograde, it doesn't actually move retrograde, of course. Of course not. But from our viewpoint of Earth, it looks like as if, because Mercury has a shorter orbit than the Earth, and that creates this optical illusion. And okay, enough about astrology now. So with so with Mercury retrograde, we are asked, and it's like as if the eclipse lessons or everything that I talked about is now heightened because of that, because Mercury retrograde is also asking us to integrate lessons. And we redefine our worth, our self-worth, especially with the Mercury in Taurus. And I know there are a lot of stories about it that I want to pick up. So you hear about you should be afraid of it, all your projects that you start on Mercury retrograde. I talked about it, launching and so on. So everything will be ruined. You shouldn't travel, you shouldn't buy things, and so on and so on. And there is a true side of it. So we definitely should be aware of the energy and really check things twice. So if you sign a contract in this time frame, you can definitely do it. Of course, I mean, we cannot like pause life. So just because of Mercury retrograde, but we double check. And if you're an astrologer, I mean, I am always, when I'm now giving readings, I double check the birth information that my clients give me. And when I'm in the communication, I make sure that I really communicate things double. I communicate very clear. So when you are launching things on Mercury retrograde, make sure that you repeat yourself a lot. So sometimes it can feel like, okay, I already told my audience like 10 times what the program is about, but please tell them an 11th time, because sometimes there is a thing with miscommunication or people not really getting it, what you're saying. So it's a time, like in general with Mercury retrograde, to reconnect, to rediscover, to tidy things up that are not organized, to improve things. And with Taurus, it's about security, it's about stable resources, it's about finances. So it's deeply connected to security, to safety. And we are asked to not go back just for the sake of security, like staying in that employee contract or relationship or whatever. So the feeling of safety should not be tied to the outer world, to the external world, but more to the inner world and to the inner consciousness. And it's about a final closing of everything that's holding you back. And sometimes it brings things from the past back. So it can be also that ex-partners are engaging with you again, or old themes are coming back, and maybe themes that we haven't closed energetically. So it's always a time when Mercury is retrograde where we close things and where we say, okay, enough. That's not up to my highest standard. That's not up to what I'm here to live for, or to work for, or I don't know. So yeah, it's like a closing and also a time of reflection. So it's doubling. The time is a double reflection time, one could say, with the eclipse and the Mercury retrograde, and just leaning back, sitting back, observing, also observing the things that are not so in alignment and not so bringing good results, that are not efficient, and we are not maybe now changing the things, but we are observing them and we're taking kind of notes. And after the eclipse season, we analyze everything, and then we like go forward and see, okay, that is my way. The old things didn't serve me anyway, and now I'm going forward.
Okay, that was a lot of information. That was a lot of preparation for our upcoming season starting tomorrow. So, like, I'm just gonna give an advice from my heart. Like, just take it easy. Take this time for reflection. Like, don't overbook yourself with appointments, with schedules. Just like make a little bit Taurus-like, you know, like be the enjoyer, learn to enjoy the void, learn to enjoy the surrender, the process, detox. You can start a detox, maybe it's Instagram detox, media, or whatever. And yeah, don't limit yourself on if you want to manifest something. Like you still can dream during these times, but your number one priority is really like to let go, and sometimes usually letting go is way harder than clinging onto stuff. And it can be relationship, it can be business partners, a lifestyle, I don't know, whatever we usually identify us with strongly. So that's very important. And yeah, I actually would say double check your contracts always. It doesn't matter if it's a Mercury retrograde or not.
Yeah.
I think my 1,000 Capricorn placements are like, don't double check your contract. Who doesn't do it? So yeah, that's from me. Thank you so much, Caroline, for being here and preparing us for this season. It was my pleasure to have you. And yeah, thank you. You can find her.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. And I'm gonna hang the links. I'm gonna add the links below so everyone can find your homepage and your Instagram. Make sure you follow us and you see her beautiful work. And also, Caroline has her own astrology school. So if you want to learn from Caroline and get in tune with astrology, she is your woman. So thank you so much, guys. Bye bye.